Welcome back to a special late night edition of the Jet Press podcast. Different day, different time, but we are here all the same. My name is Mike Luciano, and Mike Giarraputo is joining me because Justin Freed is still on PTO. He's on 2 weeks of PTO here.
Come on, man.
I believe he's in Peru. So while he is out gallivanting across the globe, he'll be back next week, same time, same channel, all that, back at Wednesday at 3 p.m. But for right now, I got Mike Giarraputo on here, and we're going to go talk about this Jets 2025 schedule because it is out. Even though I'm going to be honest, I don't know about you. That's always, in my opinion, as somebody who works in sports, especially football writing, this is my least favorite event, the way it's covered of the sports.
Yeah.
Because we know the opponents already. It's just, wow, they're playing them in week 3 instead of week 10. Wow. Okay. What do you want, a cookie? But with that, we do know all the opponents finalized. We'll see how the Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji era gets started. Mike, how are we doing on this fine Thursday night?
Man, I'm doing well. I got to say, the schedule release, I think I kind of share the same sentiment. And usually the leaks that we see aren't correct. This year we had a correct leak like earlier in the day. A bunch of my friends sent it in. I'm like, guys, those are 99% of the time. Those are always wrong. They ended up being dead on accurate, but I'm excited.
There was a wrong one where they were playing the Browns week 1.
I did see that one, but yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this. It's been like 2 months since I've been on this. The music going into it got my foot tapping. I'm excited to go here, man. Justin's not here.
Shout out to our production team. They found a good. They dug
amazing.
Deep into YouTube's sound library. They got us a good one. So
some public domain there.
Thank you guys for tuning in. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there, and we are on YouTube. If you want to support the show, 99 cents to get your comments prioritized. You'll join our membership program. That's all it costs. And if you want to support it for free, just subscribe and like. All that stuff really does help support the show because it tells YouTube, like, hey, people are really engaging with this show, boost it up. So that's how the algorithm works. So if you want us to help make more great content, that is how you do it. But never mind all that, Mike, because we got Mike and Mike are named that I'm sure we can totally use and won't get sued into the Stone Age for. Mike and
That's
Mike.
just us, isn't it?
Yeah, especially Mike G. There's never been another Mike G doing this stuff. Especially a Jets fan, too. So let's get right into this 2025 schedule. Let's go game by game here. Now, last year, we were about as wrong as possible because we thought they were going to win 11 or 12 games. And they lost 12 games. So
yeah, I remember we were catching up a little bit right before we went on here. I thought I was being conservative last year. I remember going through it like, I'll give them a loss to the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. I mean, that'll be like an even. I think I said 11-6. I think you came in 11-6 or 12-5. It was so hard not to be optimistic last year, but this year I feel like compared to other seasons, last year, the last 2 years have really drained me of all optimism. So I'm going to be as realistic and as non-biased as possible tonight.
I'm going to try. Maybe there might be a little bit of optimism in here.
Could be a little bit.
Looking at this schedule, I will say it's not crazy. It's 26th in terms of average strength of schedule here. So it's not just a murderer's row like the poor Giants got. I mean, that is,
oh, man.
That's a gauntlet. So starting right off, you're telling me the NFL does not think Aaron Rodgers signing with the Steelers. Week 1, it is the Aaron Rodgers revenge game and the Justin Fields revenge game at MetLife Stadium. Imagine that crowd when Aaron Rodgers drops out onto that field. It is going to be – honestly, I think he might get some cheers because I think there's a lot of – I think there's a lot of fans that still wanted him.
I think a lot of that got just washed away by the offseason. Because I remember being on here. We talked about this 3 months ago, like whether or not we should keep him or not. And it felt like it was 50-50 with the whole entire Jets fan base. A lot of people just saying, let's just rip off this Band-Aid. Let's move on. A lot of people saying, well, he's, who's our better option? But I don't think it's going to be the warmest reception. Should it be Aaron Rodgers? We're not even sure if it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. So we'll see.
Well, if it's Mason Rudolph, I think that would really change the dynamic here.
That'd be nice.
Honestly, even with Aaron Rodgers, because I don't think the Jets are going to win a lot of games this year. I don't think you think the Jets are going to win a lot of games this year.
Oh, yeah, 13 or 14.
And I know that the Steelers, man, this is a tough first test for those new offensive tackles, man, because you got T.J. Watt, Derek Arnold, Cameron Hayward, Alex Highsmith. Trial by fire here for Amar Membu. Try and stop T.J. Watt coming off the edge in your first pro game. But with all of that, I really think because there's going to be some upsets. Otherwise, the Jets are going to win 2 games here because they might be favored in 1 or 2 games this year. I think even though they may not win a lot of games this year, they're going to find a way to start off the Aaron Glenn era with a W. If they beat the Steelers, I think it's narrow. I think it's going to be made about Aaron Rodgers, obviously. I think this ends up being the Justin Fields shows Arthur Smith, who reports just came out. Arthur Smith wanted to keep him really badly in free agency. I think he kind of sticks it to him a little bit. Rodgers may get the last laugh because I think the Steelers are a better team, and I think they're a playoff team with him. But for just that one game, I think Aaron Glenn finds a way.
Yeah, well, what a storyline it would be if let's just assume Rodgers signs with the Steelers just for the sake of this, right? Just coming into MetLife after what these last 2 years have been for the Jets and how different this season, this is not that it feels any better or worse going into this year for the Jets, but just how different it feels. It just feels like a younger kind of energy, even though I know Glenn's in his 50s, but it just feels like a totally new identity. Obviously, we're still yet to see it, but I think I'm going to have to agree with you. I think I'll give the Jets the win here. I think Pittsburgh will be slightly favored, assuming obviously Aaron Rodgers is with the Steelers. I'd guess they're like, a 2.5-point favorite in that case, maybe a 3-point favorite. But give me the Jets at home here. I think what we're going to see after week 1 and on that Sunday is Jets fans just elated with how Justin Fields looked in the game, with how Glenn was coaching the defense. I think it's going to set maybe the precedent for the season and this new regime. So give me the Jets to start 1-0 here.
If they sign Rodgers, I think outside of like a Patriots game, I think if you took most Jets fans and say you can only win one game this year, which one do you want to win? I think it's this one.
I would agree with you. Yeah.
Especially because they have a very tough schedule coming up after that.
Yes, they do.
I feel like this year it's kind of given 2020 vibes where they start off really badly and then they kind of figure it out too late and end up with a mediocre record.
Man, I never want 2020 vibes again for this team.
Better vibes, but I mean, maybe just record-wise, that's how it shakes out. I don't know if they go 1-8 to 7-9, but because next week they're at home again, but it's the Buffalo Bills. And I'll give the Jets credit, especially at MetLife. Even at the peak of Josh Allen's powers, they played him pretty tough.
Yeah,
they beat him a couple times, but I think Robert Saleh's defense is constructed in a way where it frustrates Allen because he wants to go deep so much and he can't really there. So I think he tried to make something out of nothing too often. Aaron Glenn's defense, I think, is going to be good. I don't know if it's going to stop Josh Allen off a bogus MVP award that he shouldn't have won. I'll give him that. But an MVP award, really? I don't know how he's second team All-Pro, but he beats Lamar for other than semantics. I don't know how that happens. I think they go 1-1 after this because I think Buffalo, every year they keep saying, oh, this is the year they finally break through. I think this might be the year they finally break through.
Yeah.
Not because of them, because Kansas City, I think, got a lot weaker. But roster-wise, I don't think there's really a comparison right now between the Jets and Buffalo.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm going to even it out here. So give our Jets a loss in week 2. I just can't imagine. I think we have the ability, as you said, we have the ability to play this team close and play well against Josh Allen. You look at Josh Allen's stats against the Jets in the past 3-4 years. It's like he's a mediocre quarterback even. I mean, we make him look almost like a regular human, which we know watching every Sunday that he is nothing like. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that the Jets take a loss in this one. I don't think they'll be, depending on how week 1 goes, I don't think they'll be a double-digit underdog. I think they'll be maybe a touchdown underdog in this game. But
at home, really?
You think what would you get? Let's say the Jets win week 1, 20-17. Fields looks pretty good and the defense looks pretty good. What would you think the spread is? Assuming Buffalo, let's say they beat Baltimore by a field goal week 1.
Even if they don't beat Baltimore, I still think, because I can't see the Bills going 0-2 to start.
No.
Maybe 5.5.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'd say
typically it's about a 3-point swing.
Right.
Home and away. So neutral field, Buffalo's 8. At Buffalo, it's probably 10 or 11. I think that would make sense.
Yeah, I think that would make sense too. But yeah, give me Buffalo here to roll.
Then after that, week 3, the Hassan Reddick revenge game. A lot of revenge games early in the season because they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Tampa Bay, first road game of the year. Tampa Bay's in a weird spot because I think they're going to win the South again. I just don't think everybody keeps talking about the improvements that division's made. I don't really see it that much. I don't buy
not
that division.
Not enough to catch up to the Bucs. Like, I think the Panthers will be better. The Falcons might win 8 or 9 games, but I think this Bucs team wins 10 or 11 again.
And poor Baker Mayfield. I mean, every year the guy loses offensive coordinator.
That's what happens when you're a good quarterback.
Well, a good quarterback, but I think the league still thinks it's not like he's not so good where
right. Mm-hmm.
Like Lamar, Todd Monken hasn't been hired. Joe Brady hasn't been hired.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, Baker Mayfield is clearly putting up crazy numbers because of Dave Canales, Liam Cohen.
Yeah.
I hope this Josh Grizzard guy is probably going to have a similar fate. I think they lose this one only because Tampa Bay's defense is not very good. Even with Hassan Reddick, because he's like their number one pass rusher now because they didn't get one at 19 or 12 in the draft.
Yep.
He's like one of their top pass rushers I don't really like. This is going to be a shootout. And for as much as I like Fields, as much as I like this defense, these are the games I see the Jets losing. There's another one on the schedule that I think they'll lose in a similar vein because of that. You can guess which one it is. But Justin Fields is going to win some games for this team. I don't see his arm alone being able to keep up with a guy who threw 41 touchdowns last year in Baker Mayfield.
Right.
So if it comes down to just a pure battle of the passing games, I think the Bucs are going to win out.
I would have to agree with you there. And what a challenge this will be for this new Jets secondary. I mean, a lot of new names, as we saw, Brandon Stevens now, Andre Sisco, a lot of new names in the Jets secondary. I mean, this Tampa Bay receiving core is just loaded. I mean, Emeka Egbuka is their number 3 receiver. That's if Godwin's healthy for week 3, which I assume he will be at that point.
Jalen McMillan will be number 2 on the Jets right away.
Absolutely, he would. And this is just.
And he can barely play for them.
Yeah, this is an incredibly tough challenge for this Jets defense and this Jets secondary. I mean, we're going to have to get pressure on Baker Mayfield. And there wasn't really a lot of, we talked about all last year how we lost all these guys on the front 7. And we didn't do much to replace him this offseason. So I think if we're not able to get pressure on Baker, which I don't think will do enough to really impact him in the pocket, then Tampa Bay probably wins this game by a touchdown, especially at home.
I mean, we got Will McDonald going against Tristan Wirfs. You talk about just physically.
Yeah.
They have classes for a reason, weight classes for a reason in boxing. I think that's going to be pretty tough.
What are your expectations for a guy like Jermaine Johnson coming off an injury like that?
Not expecting much, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll be okay, but he was never going to profile to be like a 12-sack every year guy. He's more like a set the edge 4-3 defensive end kind of thing. So if I get 6 sacks out of him and good run defense, I'm happy.
I'll take that.
The only problem then is Tyler Barron and Michael Clemens are your backup edge rushers. So unless Will McDonald just goes full Elvis Dumerville and can pile up the sacks crazy, it's gonna be pretty tough.
And we got to deal with Bucky Irving. I mean, this run defense last year.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a really tough. We're gonna learn a lot about the Jets defense in week 2 and week 3, and I hope it's all positive. But man, these are some tough games in these last 2.
Now, one of the Jets' 2 primetime games, and I say 2 because apparently Denver, being a standalone game in London, does not count as a primetime game for the NFL. So they only have 2. They only have 2. One of them, this shows you how much the league respects the Jets and how we're back in Spiro Deeds and Adam Archuleta territory for most of the year.
Just
One
like
of
the good old days.
Primetime games is a Monday night doubleheader, and it's at 7:15 on ESPN instead of on ABC, which probably tells you this is the inferior of the 2 games.
Yeah. What's the other? I'm finding out what the other Monday Night Football game that week is. But yeah,
I believe the Raiders are involved, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah, no, this is
Bengals Broncos.
Bengals Broncos. That sounds like a better game than this
in
one.
Denver. Yeah, that's the game.
It's also a Braxton Berrios revenge game, but we just haven't been able to beat the Dolphins in recent years.
Well, I think he's on the Texans now, Braxton Berrios.
Oh, is he now? Okay.
I believe so. I only know that because of that Colts schedule release video they had to delete for being offensive.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, they had. I know his girlfriend's like some TikTok star. I know it's not like a matey, but she's like some, one of these Instagram people.
You're one of those people.
Yeah, her. They were making fun of her with the Texans thing. So
yeah,
after they killed Will Levis with a bachelorette party bus in Minecraft, which I thought was weird.
This game is tough. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and give them the loss here. I just haven't seen enough. I haven't seen enough from the Jets against the Dolphins in recent years. We get torched every year by Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I mean, I guess Tyreek Hill's staying, by the way. I mean, I thought 3 months ago he was a goner. He said it. After we beat them It was kind of a who was the quarterback that game for them? It was I can't even remember who it was.
Was it Skylar Thompson? Tyler Huntley.
It might have, yes, Tyler Huntley, and that was just they were just brutal on offense without Tua last year. But assuming Tua is healthy, which he probably will be, it's pretty early in the season, so I'd take the Dolphins here to get us at home.
I feel like we end up splitting. I feel like the Jets will split with Miami because I think Miami's taken a very big step back this offseason.
Me too.
I didn't love their draft. I didn't love losing Javon Holland. They're probably going to trade Jalen Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
Tua is what he is. I think Mike McDaniel's a bad season away from getting fired for as creative and offensive mind as he is.
Yeah.
But Miami, I think the song's going to be the same where they start out hot and they have all these crazy offensive innovations. We're like, oh, they finally got it. And then the weather gets colder and they forgot how to play football.
Mm-hmm.
Which, with Mike McDaniel as your coach and a Hawaiian quarterback in Miami, I guess I can see why. I think they're going to lose here. Maybe I'm spoiling later in the list, but on the road, I think that this is going to be – I think it'll be close, but this seems like a classic Jets will be in it all game and then bungle their way out and lose it. It just – this is prime that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, my prediction for this game might change the day of this game, but as of now, I haven't seen this Aaron Glenn coach Jets team. I haven't seen our offense. Not that Miami's defense is, nothing really to be afraid of, but their offense, we haven't really shown a capability to stop. When it's Tua and Achane and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, we haven't really shown a capability to stop it. We'll see what Aaron Glenn draws up against it, but I would have to give it to Miami here. So 1-3 for both of us here.
And then we go on to week 5 at home against the Dallas Cowboys. Probably the most top-heavy roster in the league. They got a top 10 quarterback, a top 5 receiver, and a top 3 defensive player.
Mm-hmm.
Dak Parsons. And Dak Prescott, CD Lamb, and Micah Parsons. And I think those guys could be enough to carry them to a win. But Jets fans know Brian Schottenheimer well. We don't think very highly of him.
Mm-mm.
We don't know what Aaron Glenn is as a coach, but I think he can outcoach Brian Schottenheimer, a coach that the Cowboys were so excited about hiring, they told everybody at 10 p.m. on a Friday night, which is the best time you're very happy about.
Yeah, what a time.
The night.
A perfect time to drop it for them. They don't get the shows over the weekend. But I mean, it was still so talked about. Dallas, I mean, for being what they were last year, I mean, every morning I'd get up before work and watch whatever it was, Get Up, Good Morning Football, whatever was on. Dallas it felt like a quarter of that coverage. That's what it felt like last year. And I feel like this year, a team like that, like they're going to fly, I'm not going to say fly under the radar, but in terms of what they've been and the coverage that they've gotten, I feel like they'll go a little bit less noticed this year. I'm going to give this to Dallas. I'm going to start us at 1-4. I just think, again, a really, really tough challenge for our secondary. When Dak is protected, he does really well. I don't really know what this pass rush is going to look like for the Jets. It just depends on how Glenn is going to scheme his defense up. I trust them as a defensive mind. I'm not sure about a head coach. How can you say you're sure about a head coach? But I think Dallas takes it. We drop to 1-4 here.
See, I think they win this. I think at home, I think Glenn can outcoach Schottenheimer. The biggest thing is I still don't think they can run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at their running back depth chart. It's like, oh my God. It's Devontae Williams, Jaden Blue.
It's bad.
It's
the worst in football. It's the worst in football, no doubt.
Easily. And this was a great running back class. They didn't take one until the 5th round. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah, they could have. I don't know why they didn't.
Dallas is a weird team, though, because everybody always draws the comparison to the Lakers or the Yankees, but just because of who they are and the way baseball is set up, like the Yankees have always at least have 30 years in a row of winning seasons.
Yeah, just about.
And then the Lakers historically have either been championship contenders or they just bottom out, like those, like the end of Kobe's time.
Mm-hmm.
The Cowboys have been 9-8, sneak into the playoffs, losing the first round for 15 years in a row.
Yeah,
so I get that it's a weird way to discuss them because you discuss, they always get this hype as Cowboys, Yankees, Lakers. It's one of those gold star franchises. But if you take all the logos off, they operate like the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah,
you hear all these stories. If they put stripes on that helmet and you're 9-8 and they lose in the playoffs and the owner meddles and they don't spend money on free agents, you're like, well, why are they getting 5-6 primetime games every year?
Yeah,
I get it. I think finally the league is starting to realize, like, okay, we have to turn it down just 10%.
Oh my God!
Cowboys will print ratings for us all the time, but You
Yep.
can't put them on 7 primetime games and they're going to be 8 and 9 every year.
The primetime games this year, I think they have 5 or 6, but they play the opener against Philly. I think obviously they play on Thanksgiving against the Chiefs. I feel like we need to, just as a football society, we need to be okay with retiring some of these traditions. With the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. I mean, I
well, the
understand
Lions
the
do it
brand.
on Thanksgiving, and they were awful.
They
for
were awful
years.
But I guess
Now they're good, and it looks awesome.
Both of them. But
what
yeah,
I think somebody suggested, I think our buddy Matt Connor, Arrowhead Addict, said.
Okay.
And I get that he's a Chiefs fan, but he said, "Why not take the Chiefs and put them on Christmas every year and make it like a Christmas thing?" Like,
yeah.
I could see that if they're doing that.
It sounds like a good idea to me. I mean, everybody pretends to hate the Chiefs, but they'll watch them. I mean, they're pretty damn entertaining.
I mean, you know my thoughts on the Patriots weren't that annoying. Are you out of your goddamn mind? I've never been more annoyed by a take in my life.
With the Patriots or the Chiefs?
No, people saying that the Brady Patriots dynasty was not as annoying as the current Chiefs one. I'm like, are you?
Oh my God, I think people just have short memories. Because
people are stupid is the problem.
That's also a problem. But I think what it is with the Chiefs and how they've kind of taken, it used to be like, please, somebody knock off Brady and take over. And then the Chiefs did. And then 3 years later, it's everybody hates them. People love to hate these great teams when it's happening, like Golden State's dynasty or Kansas City's or the Patriots. But when you look back on it, you're like, man, they made the league so entertaining. Like I have to try to enjoy it a little bit.
I would rather watch. Sorry for the long digression. I would rather watch Patrick Mahomes practice than Tom Brady win a playoff game in terms of entertainment value.
We're very much both in agreement there as a Jet fan.
So moving on to another London game for Ambassador Johnson's team here. So we lose a home game here because it's technically a home game.
Great.
Against the Denver Broncos. And I have them losing again. So I have them at 2-4 to start the year. Because I think Bo Nix proved me pretty much, I think a little bit wrong with how good he was as a rookie. I think there's going to be a little bit of a regression to the means. I think he got crazy hot near the end of the year. And I think
definitely
come back a little bit. But that defense is ferocious. And I can't see Justin Fields against that secondary specifically. Jahdae Barron, Patrick Surtain.
Love that pick.
Probably the best. I mean, that's going to be hard to throw the ball on him.
Yeah, this is going to be – I think Denver is going to have the best defense in football this year. So this is going to be an incredibly hard challenge. I think what would you say the spread's going to be for this game? I think Denver's going to end up being a 4.5, 5-point favorite.
Yeah, because I think this is going to be a low scoring – slug it out, slobber knocker.
Yeah, like a 39.5 over under. Yeah, I think Denver wins this.
I mean, last year, what did Bo Nix have? -7 passing yards in the first half against mostly the same defense.
Do you think that was the most frustrating loss of the season last year? Just in terms of where we thought we were going to go, like we were 2-1 at the time, coming like off
possibly.
That Thursday
I guess
football.
Denver ended up being better than we thought they would, but
but. that was tough. But
Greg Zuerlein makes his kicks. Robert Saleh's probably not fired. That's a domino effect for you.
That is true. But I'd have to go Denver just based off how good I think their defense is going to be. I think they're going to have the best defense in football. So, man, I said I wasn't going to go through the schedule before this. I knew who our opponents were. This might end up being worse than I thought. So 1-5 for me, 2-4 for you. All right.
And they're gonna. I get being patient with Aaron Glenn because I like Aaron Glenn a lot.
Yeah, me too.
It's gonna piss me off because they're going to give him 1-5. They're going to start off 2-4, 1-5 with Justin Fields and Josh Reynolds as the wide receiver too. And people are going to freak out about it. I'm like, okay, let's be realistic. Now you talk about a must-win game. They come back stateside, and they get the Carolina Panthers, Week 19. This is, if I had to pick a game they're going to win, I think it's this one.
Okay.
Because I'm not buying that Bryce Young, he finally figured it out. Like, he was better than he was, but go look at the numbers. It wasn't anything to really write home about. That defense is still not very good because I thought they should have gone defense instead of Tenero McMillan with their first draft pick. I'm not sold on Dave Canales as a coach. I think they're going to run the ball decently well with Chuba Hubbard, but this defense, I think, for Carolina is so bad. I think this could be a game where Justin Fields really shines and Tanner Engstrom can really kind of take the creativity up a notch. I'm going to give them a win here.
Yeah, I'd say after the skid, the 5 losses in a row for myself, give me a win here against Carolina. It like you said, it really has to be. And I think Bryce Young, I think his ceiling as an NFL player is an average quarterback, and I think that's what we saw that in some games last year. Some games he really showed out last year. The game against Tampa Bay, I think there was a game against Atlanta last year. He was awesome in. Ted McMillan, I don't love. I mean, I didn't think he was the best receiver available at that stage.
You went on Golden, or
I do like Golden a lot, even though those type of guys don't really translate usually. But I do like Golden a lot. But in terms of this game, give me the Jets. Like you said, Carolina's defense really not that improved. I mean, they made a couple of signings, but I think Fields, this is the game where he can really run wild. Maybe Breece Hall has a blow up game here, maybe like 150 total yards, something like that. Speaking of Breece Hall, disappointing year last year. I don't mean to get too off track here, but it looks like we have some time here. Expectations for Breece this year, because I feel like last year going in, my thought was, well, he has to get better because he was in the worst situation of all time in 2023. He kind of takes a step back. He looks a little slower. He's not doing the same things he used to do. Do you think Breece Hall really reestablishes himself and, let's say, is the Jets starting running back for the next 4 or 5 years?
Here's my hot take on Breece Hall. I think the Jets have a top 3 rushing offense in the league in terms of yards per game, but he doesn't reach 800 yards.
Really?
I think Braylon Allen
Fields
or Isaiah Davis, one of them takes away not a huge chunk, but enough of a chunk where you notice. And I think there's a very good chance Justin Fields leads this team in rushing next year.
He could. There's a chance. I mean, if the Jets' offense is capable, there's a chance he could get close to 1,000.
I mean, he had 1,100 as a sophomore. That Bears team had nothing, and he had 1,100.
Yeah,
there was a point, and that was after a slow start. He was running for 160, 170 yards a game multiple times in a row.
Yeah, it could be. I feel like we're going to see the same exact stat line for Garrett Wilson that we've seen his first 3 seasons.
Like 300 targets this year.
You think so? Yeah. No, well, you know what? Yeah, he really.
And then the rest are going to go to Mason Taylor.
Mason Taylor. I'm excited to watch Mason Taylor. I didn't expect that pick from us, but I'm excited to watch him.
What'd you expect? Because I kind of did after they took Membu.
I don't know. What did I expect there? Maybe a receiver. Maybe it felt like receiver is more of a need, but also I understood. I mean, I understood Mason Taylor. Well, not more of a need, but I felt like the Jets were going to go that direction. But I do love getting it to. When's the last time we've had a great tight end? Oh my God,
Dustin Keller was the best one in 20 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. So having Mason Taylor will be. He's one of the guys I'm most excited to watch on this Jets team. Not that I'm very, very excited to watch the Jets this year, but there are certain players I'm like, I really want to see. I really want to track how he does. He's probably top 3 or top 5.
He just feels so safe. Like, don't think he'll be great. I think there's so small of a chance he's bad. I think he just does everything.
Yeah. Can he be a top 20 tight end? That'd be fine.
Moving on to week 9 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Week 8, because I can't count. Week 8 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Kindergarten math, nope, it escapes me.
That's all right.
So the Bengals, this is good. This reminds me a lot of the Tampa Bay analysis. Great quarterback, better receivers, probably a worse defense. So I think it's just taken out to the max there. I think they made enough defensive improvements, not a ton, but enough. Even if they trade Trey Hendrickson, I think they're probably going to get a player back in any sort of deal that can help them right now. I think there's a chance Shamar Stewart finally figures it out and then becomes kind of a freaky pass rusher. Again, I'll bring it back to the Tampa Bay analysis where I just, at this stage, don't trust Justin Fields as a passer to beat Joe Burrow in a shootout.
Sure.
So I think Burrow, who has typically played okay against the Jets, I think that Sauce, as good as he is, I think Chase and Higgins together, one of them's going to have a good game. I don't know who, but one of them will. I think that'll be enough to give the Bengals the win.
I can't imagine getting this win on the road against that kind of offense. I mean, again, a lot of this is dependent on what this defense looks like for the Jets. Like I said, I do trust Aaron Glenn as a defensive mind. I just don't know if we have the talent on defense to really overcome the Cincinnati team. And also we have to keep up with them. I mean, when I say play well against Cincinnati, that means hold them to anywhere from 20 to 24 points. And or is Fields going to be good enough on the road to catch up to that? I'm not sure. So I think I'll have to go with Cincinnati here.
And then bye week where we can beg for the sweet embrace of death after another bad Jets start. And then we move into week 10 against the Cleveland Browns. Now, here's the question I will ask you, Mike Giarraputo.
Shadur Sanders.
Well, I was going to say who is going to be the starting quarterback.
I think it's going to be.
You have 4 options apparently now.
I think it'll week 1. I'll say Joe Flacco. And I think.
What do you think the depth chart is week 1? Starter, backup, third string,
man,
and fourth string. Now.
I think probably just because both Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders are rookies, I'd have to say Flacco, Kenny Pickett. I'd say Sanders above Gabriel. I mean, first of all, how the hell does Shedeur Sanders fall to the 5th round of the NFL draft?
I mean, we weren't even. Justin was not even that big on him, and even I think in the 4th round he was like, "Okay, now I at least take a flyer." But
when it was going to the 2nd round, I'm like, I wouldn't mind it. 3rd round, I'm like, let's do it. 4th round, I'm like, all right, what are we doing? I would have been totally fine.
You know why? Because I've seen more Cleveland Browns minicamp clips and quotes from Stefanski about that than I've heard in my entire life combined before that. Mm-hmm. That's probably why.
The Jets didn't want, and you can't blame. I guess you can't blame Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji that much because they're just coming into their first year. It's the New York Jets.
Supposedly he bombed their interview too really badly. So
yeah, I'd love to see these interviews. I would love to. How bad could they have been?
From what I've seen and what I've heard, this is just extrapolating from 100 feet out. I think he almost treated it almost like not even like a recruiting thing because you're getting recruited. It's almost like when guys transfer in the portal now, where it's like, okay, here's what I can bring to you. Why should I choose you?
Yeah,
like you don't. Even if you're really good, even like a Manning guy, you don't choose. You know, you could choose not to go to a spot. You can't choose the spot you go to on top of that.
Right.
But I think he just got fed bad advice and then leaned in. And by the time he leaned into it, it was too late and he had to backpedal. And because he seems like a pretty nice dude outside of that.
He does.
Yeah, I think by this game, Shedeur's starting only because they're going to start off really badly. And not only fans, I think players are probably going to say, not Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur. No. And I think worst comes to worst, Jimmy Haslam goes, look, Stefanski, you're a lame duck anyway. We're getting my guy in there.
Gabriel shouldn't have even
should he even drafted, let alone?
I would say hardly. I would say 6th round, 7th round is where I would have gotten a guy like Dylan Gabriel. The fact that he was, some of these quarterbacks that were drafted over Shedeur.
It's funny too because he even said he didn't want to go to a team that played in cold weather because he's from Hawaii.
Oh my God,
a small left-handed guy. And he was
I remember that interview where he was like, all games should be played inside of a boat. Like all games should be played indoors, 75 degrees. Like it was just
I was in Cleveland. You would say that.
Yeah, I was in Cleveland, but I agree. I think this will be, I knew your question before you asked it, but I think this will be Shedeur Sanders. And to get back to what we're doing here, I would say the Jets, oof, man. I think they pick up a win against Cleveland, but it's going to be, again, another challenge, against Myles Garrett and this Browns front. It's a good Browns front, a pretty solid Browns defense, but what is this offense going to be? I don't know. And do they have the talent on offense to overcome whatever might be happening at quarterback with the offensive line? I don't think so enough for this game. So I guess the Jets move to 3-6 here for me.
They're going to move to 4-5 for me. I mean, if they lose to musical chairs quarterback with a lame duck coach for the only franchise probably as cursed as they are, I mean, that's a bad look for Aaron Glenn. Yeah. So I'm going to give him the win here. Off a bye, too, extra week to prepare.
Right.
I think that this and Carolina, I feel the most confident about in terms of wins.
I would agree with that.
Then a short week. Thursday night, who thought this was a Week 11 game on the road against the New England Patriots, who are a lot better. Milton Williams, Stephon Diggs, Drake May looks like I don't say the guy, but
he looks pretty damn good.
Be the guy.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel, that's going to be a big help. I don't think the Patriots are going to have. I think they have a very easy schedule. I don't think they're going to have the season everybody thinks they're going to have. I think they'll be better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're still like a 6-win team.
Really?
I think they're a 6-win team.
Only
because I don't think May was good, but if you look at the numbers and some of the I know he had nothing around him, but
right. Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's getting this billing where he hasn't really earned it yet. Where he clearly it's like a Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville where he's good, but I don't know if it's that yet. So until I see that, I'm going to call the Patriots a 6-win team, maybe a 7-win team. I say all that to say I think they split with New England.
Mm-hmm.
I think they lose at New England because they haven't won there since I think the second Bush administration. Because of that, I'm not even kidding about that.
No, we won the last week of the season.
Outside in a game that mattered. That wasn't,
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
so because of that, I think the House of Horrors will get him on a short week too,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they're a 4-6 team at this point.
Yeah, we're pretty far apart on what we think New England's going to be this year. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I think they're going to win 9 or 10 games and get in there. I think you're. I understand your take on Drake May. I don't think he is. I think he gets a little bit too much credit. Like he's getting almost like preemptive credit. Like, well, the situation was so bad and you were so good last year. But what do you have? Like 14 touchdowns and 9 picks. I mean, it's not like he
15 and 10, and they got hurt
something like
twice,
that.
and yeah.
Yeah, but I'm excited. Not excited to see him, but it's. I think he's going to be a lot better. The situation is just so much better. I love Kyle Williams. That's a guy who I thought the Jets would target.
I really
Stephon
think
Diggs.
that they were going to take. I really thought they were going to take Kyle Williams in the 3rd round.
Me too, and I would have loved it. But
Azaria Thomas looks like a really good pick too.
Yeah,
that's insane value. But I think they wanted Kyle Williams.
And I think Stephon Diggs, for what he's known as, I think he's kind of understanding what he needs to be for Drake May. I mean, the way Josh Allen early on with Diggs was awesome. I'm not comparing Allen to May, although a lot of people have made that comparison, but what Diggs did for Josh Allen in the very beginning of his career was like it made Josh Allen who he is today. So I think Diggs, not that he's the same player, but I think he'll be kind of that. I think he won't be a bad thing for this Pats locker room, especially when you have a guy like Vrabel. Last year, you shouldn't have hired Gerard Mayo. You shouldn't have done all these. I mean, the way they handled.
I felt bad for him too. I felt he was. They gave him nothing.
He was just.
You can give Gordon Ramsay, Lunchables. He's not going to make a good meal.
That was one of my predictions that I nailed, is that he was going to be a one and done head coach last year, Gerard Mayo. I couldn't imagine, like, it just, especially when Vrabel becomes he was available and then he becomes available again.
They fired him before, like after the Week 18 game. He's given a press conference and they fired him.
Yep.
Like
I mean, hey,
I'd be pissed about him. It's like, fire me beforehand. Like, be upfront.
Life moves fast.
You think Patriots win this?
I think the Patriots definitely win this at home.
I'm not even as high on Diggs because, I mean, he was getting, 110 catches a year from Josh Allen. He was still pouty.
Yeah.
I think he'll still be pouty now because he's just pouty, weird, vague.
Yeah.
You see that tweet where it's like, average wide receiver tweet, the enemy speaks.
Yes.
That's him. He's a very vague character here.
Mm-hmm.
The Baltimore Ravens on the road. This might be the surest loss here. I think Lamar's going to annihilate him, if I'm being perfectly honest. And I think this might kind of put the nail in the coffin for any kind of outside wild card thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to make the playoffs anyway, but yeah, you really got to bring your A game to beat Lamar Jackson in Baltimore too.
Yeah.
Although the Ravens will always lose 1 or 2 games like this year where they're up by 21 in the 4th, and then inexplicably they're still 13-4.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of their 4 losses every year, so you never can count them out. But it'll be tough.
They did it to what was it, Vegas last year, and it's
the Giants that one year. I remember. Yeah.
I don't think this one needs too much analysis. I think Baltimore ends up being. What do you think the spread will be in this game? So let's say you're right in your prediction. The Jets are
12.5.
12.5.
I think 1-53. They may have the best roster in the league.
I think I agree. Yeah, I think Baltimore. I thought they were going to win the Super Bowl last year before the playoffs. Didn't really happen, but I think.
Man, I want him to get one so bad.
Yeah, it would be really cool. But Baltimore, I think, rolls in this spot here.
Now, this is a tough one. This is probably the season-defining stretch. They have a home game against the Atlanta Falcons. And this game, I'm not even that high in Atlanta this year because I was not high on Michael Penix as a prospect, and I don't think 3 games where he looked halfway decent changes that.
Mm-hmm.
I still think they have good skill position players. I like their offensive coaching staff, kind of a McVay descendant. I think Raheem Morris gets a lot of unfair crap as a coach. I think the Falcons upset the Jets here. I think even though they're at home, I think the Falcons are going to be fighting for a divisional title here.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those because the Steelers game's an upset. I think this will probably be an upset loss for the Jets.
Okay.
I think they have a lot of star power on offense. I'm really afraid of this run defense against Bijan Robinson. That's what I think will decide this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think Penix will be. I said before, I think the Falcons are an 8 or 9 win team, so I think they'll end up being favored against the Jets in this game, maybe by 1.5, 2.5 points. But I'd take the Falcons here. I think Penix is going to improve. He showed some flashes end of last year. We only saw 4 games, And what is he, 25 now? So, like, it's not like he's some 22-year-old with no NFL experience. Like, he had a bunch of college experience. He went through it all in college. He played at the very highest level. He got to the national championship. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. Give me the Falcons. Like you said, Bijan's going to be very tough to stop here. So, I guess Jets moving to 3-9 in my book here.
Oof. Here's my bold prediction for this game against Miami coming up now. I think the Dolphins are going to be on a losing streak. I think the Jets can win this game convincingly, and I think that's it for Mike McDaniel.
Ooh.
I think this is the game. I think there's I think this is the game where everything finally goes right for the Jets, like those Texans games over the last couple of years. Everything clicks. Justin Fields has this amazing game, and I think Miami goes, all right, we're done with Mike McDaniel. And I like Mike McDaniel a lot. I think he's like, if he was a coordinator, I think teams would hire their current coordinator to land him because he's so good. But there's just something about him as a head coach that he's just not clicking something. And I think that eventually that's going to catch up to him and lead to him getting his pink slip. I think this could be the game to do it. And I think the Jets go to 5-8 as a result.
Yeah, I don't think he's a terrible head coach. I just don't think he's the right guy for Miami. Like, I think a guy like Vrabel would be better for Miami, or maybe even a guy like Aaron Glenn, like if they were to hire some that kind of guy. But I think I'm right there with you. I think we win this game against Miami. I think Justin Fields has a great game. I think Breece Hall has a great game. So, Jets move to 4-9 here.
And you never want to, discriminate against somebody or judge somebody because of their appearance or how they act. But you see Aaron Glenn you take everything out of him. You bring him into a room with 100 people and go, now that's a football coach.
Absolutely. Yep.
Mike McDaniel, people go, what is he doing? Is he performing at the Comedy Store in LA in 2 weeks?
Yeah. He's vaping on the sidelines, man.
Like, he's just like with the voice and the look, he's like 5'5". There's just something like not to go Gen Alpha it up too much.
No, but you're right. But
there's a lack of aura around Mike McDaniel that is concerning.
Yeah, I think he's just not like Miami needs a guy, especially when they get to November, December, January. I think he's the right guy for September and October. I don't think he's the right guy late in the season for them. So I do think if Miami wins, what do you think they win this year? 6 or 7 games? I think he gets the boot.
7, 8.
Yeah, I think he'll get the boot after.
Really, outside of Buffalo, the AFC East, you could rearrange in any way possible, and I think it'll make sense.
I really think the Patriots will finish in second in the AFC East and make the playoffs.
But I think there's a world where the Jets are second and then third and fourth, they both bottom out. Or I think that you could every permutation, because I think Buffalo's running away with this.
Yeah.
Every permutation of the AFC East makes sense because I don't think this is a very strong division at all. Moving on to another game. They always play Denver every year, it seems. And it seems played the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think it's,
I remember for a while when they were good, they would play the Raiders every year. Like, they always seem to get in these.
That's what happens when you finish 3rd and 4th every year. You play the other teams that finish 3rd and 4th.
I'm actually a little more high on Jacksonville this year than most. I think they might win like 8-9 games. I think the division's terrible. I think part of why they stunk last year was Trevor Lawrence got hurt and a lot of other guys got hurt. And Doug Peterson was just his time has come as a coach.
He was out to pasture, yeah.
I like the Liam Cohen hire. Travis Hunter, I think, is what a move that was getting him.
I love it.
I mean, Hunter and Brian Thomas, with Trevor Lawrence in a Liam Cohen offense, I think could be really, really good for Jacksonville here.
Yep.
I think they lose this game. I think it's close because I think the defense still needs like one more big playmaker to be really good. I still think they're just okay right now outside of the defensive line. I think is pretty good.
Right.
But I'm banking on a Jacksonville resurgence, so I'm banking on them winning here because they're going to be desperate too because they need to probably get a couple games here if they want to really get that division title.
I think Jacksonville will be vying for a playoff spot at this point, wherever they may be at the like 7. I think they'll be like 7-6 at this stage of the season, and I do love Travis Hunter is going to be revolutionary in the NFL.
Imagine being a Browns fan. You're told for a month and a half it's going to be Travis Hunter, and then they go, nope.
I mean, they got the most they possibly could for that kind of trade, especially because it wasn't for a quarterback. We never see those types of trades, but
we also never see Travis Hunter. So
no, we haven't, and he is just an awesome football player. I can't wait to watch him play. But I'm not as high as I think you're a big Trevor Lawrence guy, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm bigger than most. Yes.
Okay, I think he's a top 12 to 15 quarterback. That's where I think he's at right now.
Well, that's where I had people talk about him like he's a bottom 30 quarteck. Which
he's not.
Insane.
Yeah, but Jacksonville wins here. Jets, man, this is going worse than I thought.
And now we move on to a game that I think they should win, even though it's on the road. This is probably one of the few road games I think definitively they should win. Is at the New Orleans Saints. I actually thought if Derek Carr was healthy, I thought him and Kellen Moore, they might have actually won some games in that weak division. I thought that was actually a pretty good recipe.
Yeah, yeah.
Without it, I think they are just totally in rebuild mode. Tyler Shuck is their starting quarterback, which
what the hell was that pick, by the way?
Did you ever? I thought he was actually a pretty. It reminds me when Daniel Jones came out, where I liked him as a prospect. I'm like, this could be great if they get him like late third round, and then he keeps going higher. I'm like, no, I don't like him that much.
No.
Like, he's going to be the same with Daniel Jones for the whole year. I'm like, I think this guy could be really good, and then he goes 6. I'm like, not that good.
But he's going to be 26 before the season starts.
Did anyone ever look at Tyler Shuck and go, that's a top 50 quarterback pick, ever?
I don't know. I think I'm right there with you here, though. This is a game, even on the road. I think the Saints have a chance to be the worst team. That's a bet I'll be making, is the Saints to have the worst record in football this year. So I think the Jets will contribute to that. I think the Jets get their 5th win for me this stage of the season.
And we were talking about this before the show. Well, keep an eye on the Saints, because one of the top quarterbacks this year is Garrett Nussmeier, and they might do a Nepo baby thing because his dad, Doug Nussmeier, is their offensive coordinator now. So might be some hanky-panky shenanigans going on in that quarterback room. Final 2 games of the year. Home against the Patriots, at the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to lump these together only because I think they win one of these games and lose one of these games. Because I can't see personally, it's just me. I think they beat the Patriots once this year. And I think there's a chance that they beat Buffalo only if it's week 18 and they're resting their starters. Kind of thing.
That's what I was thinking as well.
But I don't want to assume anything like that. Let's just assume maybe Buffalo plays their guys because they're fighting for seed.
Okay.
So they actually have to play Josh Allen. I think they beat the Patriots at home. I think by this time they maybe kind of run out of gas. I think for as good of a coach as Mike Vrabel is, you take 2,000 yards of Derrick Henry out. There's a lot of fewer wins in there. And
this is true.
The end of Tennessee, I think, was on him a little bit more than people just completely absolved how he went 6 of whatever in his last 20-something games.
Right.
I think part of that was on him. So I think they beat New England here, and I think they lose to Buffalo, which gives them a pretty surprising record of 7-10, which means we're right back where we started on the fringe of the top 10 with a 7-win team.
Yeah, I would have to go. I mean, we talked about this before, but I think New England's going to be a damn good team this year. And I think they get back to just not dominating this Jets team, but just having that psychological just edge against the Jets, that we're the Patriots and they're the frickin' Jets. I think that's what it's going to be this year. I mean, hopefully Glenn is able to get us past that kind of hurdle.
That's what was frustrating about Rodgers, because you finally had him dead and buried, and they couldn't even maximize it.
No, but I think we lose to New England, and as we said, if Buffalo is fighting for, they could be fighting for. I think they have the division locked up at this point, no doubt, but they could be fighting for the bye. So I think if their starters are in, then that's 2 losses for my Jets right there, and I think they finish 5-12.
So slightly different, but not too dissimilar. So I have them going 7-10 this year. And you have them going 5-12. I think part of my optimism too is obviously Fields is going to determine,
of course,
a lot of it. But if you go position by position, tight ends I like, running backs I like, offensive line I like. That's huge. Can't underrate that.
Yeah.
Secondary still great. Linebackers, some of the best in the game.
Yep.
You look position by position, it's not terrible. It really comes down to Justin Fields is what he is as a quarterback, and first year uncertainty. Aaron Glenn could be Dan Quinn or he could be Jeff Ulbrich continue. We have no idea. I think he'll be okay. And I think if the Jets come out of this with 7 wins, I think this fan base should be pretty happy with themselves.
I think so too. Considering what,
especially because they're going to be good, or better than I think people thought they were. They'll still be in a position to draft a quarterback if they want to. Because this is a very deep class. There's Arch Manning. We don't know what's going on, but there's also Nussmeier. There's Lenore Sellers. There's Drew Aller. So they have options if they want to move on from Fields. And I think, honestly, if they win 7 games after the locker room was just obliterated last year, I think that's a really good sign for Aaron Glenn as a builder and as a leader, which I think is the biggest thing for him.
And that's what I love about moving on from. I'm just going to address this comment quickly from Jesse from Facebook, just about how he thought the Jets should have given Rodgers a chance. I think the number one thing, and I said this when I was on the show about 2 months ago, but the number one thing and why I supported moving on from Rodgers, you just said it. I mean, we just want a locker room that loves the quarterback and is behind the head coach. I think we'll get that this year. I just don't think we're talented enough to be a playoff team. I think 7 wins I could see, because some of those games are really toss-ups for me. And it's all going to depend on Glenn. It's all going to depend on Justin Fields. Tanner Engstrand, is he going to be one of those guys where it's like he might get hired as the head coach next year? Or is it going to be, oh, crap, we just have another one of these guys that's just
we just get a Liam Cohen situation on our hands.
Right. There's just so much uncertainty. And I've been a Jets fan my whole life. They haven't made the playoffs since I was 8. I was 8 years old. It's one of my earliest memories is the Jets being in the playoffs. So it's really hard for me to be optimistic. I have been in the past. I'm excited to watch a good amount of players on this team. As I said before, I'm really excited to watch Justin Fields. I'm excited to see how Brees does. And I think what's going to be a run-heavier offense this year. I think we could both agree on that. But, man, 5-12 for me, 7-10 for you. Should be fun. Maybe we'll look back on this and say, wow, we were wrong. The Jets won. Maybe the Jets will surprise us in a positive way.
Didn't Washington just go from number 2 overall to the NFC Championship game? You never know.
There's always a team like that. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be the Patriots. I hope I'm wrong, but it might be our Jets.
The AFC is just brutal.
It's
just brutal at the top, especially. There are good losing years and there are bad losing years.
Mm-hmm.
Bad losing years were Adam Gase, where every win felt hollow.
Yep.
And you just knew, even if they won a couple games in a row, it wasn't building to anything, and they sucked most of the time anyway. Good losing years are maybe like the Josh McCown, John Morton year in 2018.
That was a fun year.
Kind of fun, and they surprised some teams. They started off 3-2, and you're like, okay, there's a pulse here. I think this is going to be a good bad year, or a fun bad year.
I think so too. I think they're going to win 5 games just looking at the schedule, but I don't think it'll be as frustrating. Last year was the most frustrating season I've ever seen.
I think Fields will be cool enough too. They'll get some cool production out of their quarterback, and fans won't be. That'll frustrate anybody. Even if you win games, you have no quarterback play. That'll set the temperature for the fan base. I think Fields will be okay enough, where I think there's some hype around him.
So Justin Fields. All right, I'll ask you. I'll lay out a question for you here.
Okay.
Overrated, underrated, or just right by everybody? Let's say the media, people within the league, and people all over Twitter. Overrated, underrated, or just perfect?
Overrated by people on Twitter, underrated by people in the media, properly rated by people within the league.
I think you nailed it.
That's a complex answer.
I think you nailed it.
I think because that Fields, had multiple options. The Steelers wanted him back. The Jets wanted him back.
Mm-hmm.
I think the league recognizes that. I mean, can you get other than the Jets? Can you get a worse, environment for a quarterback than either the Browns or the Chicago Bears?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And as we saw in that book about all the concerns Caleb Williams had coming out to the Bears. I mean, his coaches weren't even telling him what to look for on film. So
did you see that today? Oh my God!
Yeah, that was in there. He's like, I just went in and turned the film on. I had nobody helping me. So.
Unbelievable. He's going to make a big leap. If you want to talk about teams that are going to make a big leap this year, give me Chicago. Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, and they drafted Luther Burden and Colson Love.
Those receivers,
they're going to be awesome.
Yeah. So I think that the league recognizes, like, they know what he is. He's never going to throw for 5,000 yards, but you don't run for 1,000 yards as a sophomore an accident. He's obviously got the arm talent. He's obviously got the crazy athleticism. I think he's underrated by people in the media who harp on, the completion percentage over expect. They'll just go to here.
Right.
This site agreeswithme.com, and they'll find something that agrees with their opinion and spit it out. And
sure,
I don't think that's necessarily in that good faith.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that people on Twitter they'll
do the same thing.
Transformative effect. I'm like, okay, I don't know if he's gonna have that, but he is a starting NFL quarterback. He's not a good one, but he's a starter.
I think he's a terrific athlete, and I think he's a terrific leader. I mean, you look at the end of his time in Chicago.
Everybody who's played with him loves him. So
everybody loves him, and I think that's what we really needed. If we want to talk about Rodgers, like that's what Rodgers for his. If you want to say everybody in the locker room loved him, fine. I don't think Mike Williams loved him. I don't think a few other guys liked him, but
Garrett Wilson didn't like him.
No, and I'm not. How true do you think that was?
How what?
How are you buying that? Like that Wilson really had a problem with Rodgers?
I think he only had a problem because if Rodgers stayed, then Adams probably stays, and then he's not wide receiver one, and that hurts his contract. I think that's his problem.
It's going to feel like once we get to it already does, but it's going to feel like a lifetime ago that this team was Rodgers and Devontae Adams and Robert Saleh. That's going to feel like
Byron
a totally
Smith,
different
all
era.
these guys, and
it's going to feel like an entirely different era. And I'm excited to see how this plays out. I'm excited for Glenn. I think he's, as you said before, just he walks into a room with 100 people, people shut the hell up. Like I think people shut up and listen. So I think he's the right guy for the job.
He's not Mike McDaniel packing zins in his mouth either.
Exactly. So. Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you to Mike Giarraputo for tuning in and helping us with that Jets 2025 schedule analysis. We went game by game. Just for a recap for the latecomers, Mike G had him going 5-12, and I am going a little more better at 7-10. So maybe I'm drinking a little bit of Kool-Aid, but I think that there's something there. I don't think that roster is as totally barren as some people think it is. But as Mike points out, a lot of the teams in their division are very improved. Justin Fields is what he is as a passer. They could win 3 games. They could win 10 games. It really is up in the air.
Right.
Either way, thank you for tuning in. Mike, let us know where we can find all your stuff.
Yeah, man, you can find me on Twitter at Mike Giarraputo. I'm probably going to make a TikTok soon. Get some content on there. Probably the same at Mike Giarraputo. But again, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure coming on. Schedule prediction 2 years in a row. Hopefully I'm off this year. Last year I was very off in the bad way, but hopefully I'm off in a great way this year. Hopefully the Jets win 9 or 10 games, sneak into the playoffs for the first time in a decade and a half. We'll see. But thanks for having me on, man. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in to the Jet Press Podcast. We'll be back at the regular time next week. See you guys at 3 p.m. next Wednesday.